With just over a month left before the release of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, information on the game has been dropping like crazy. It feels like every week we're getting more and more news and it's not stopping. But with the recent trailer release, things have gotten interesting. Up until now, the characters have been those which already appeared in Breath of the Wild, with the exception of the robot. You can imagine everyone's surprise when the trailer ended with this shot of a mysterious figure, wearing a dark tattered cloak with Yiga foot soldiers bowing before them. I was planning on doing a mega analysis similar to the one for Link's Awakening, but these few shots are worth their own video. And the fact that this trailer says Part 2 implies that even more of these videos will appear in the next few weeks. Each one will probably reveal new characters, so I'm excited to see what's next. As expected, I have several ideas as to who this might be. For now, let's look at the information found in the trailer itself. First thing to point out is that there's clearly some connection to the Gerudo. The cloak has both the Gerudo emblem on it, and jewelry which people in my Discord pointed out is the same worn by Urbosa and Riju. The chances this individual is of Gerudo origin is high, though I'm not going to rule out the possibility that they are of a different race. There appears to be a floating orb in this person's left hand. My first thoughts are a corrupted ancient core. Either way, it feels like it's some sort of Sheikah technology corrupted by Ganon's malice. The last bit is a close-up of the cloaked figure's face. Pale skin, eyeshadow, a single braid of hair, and jewelry with what appears to be an eye. The Sheikah as a tribe are closely associated with the symbol, but when you compare it to the eyes of malice formations, it looks eerily similar. Perhaps it's a sort of foreshadowing, which also shows how the events leading up to Breath of the Wild were premeditated. And just like the necklace, the bit of jewelry under the eye looks similar to the part on Urbosa's forehead. I think it's too soon to assume this is a female. I have a feeling they are, since the Gerudo women also have eyeshadow, but other antagonists have had similar designs like Yuga from A Link Between Worlds. But yes, I believe that this person is a woman. A couple other things before we look at the possible identities. Breath of the Wild was very clear about the Yiga's origins. They were Sheikah who turned against the royal family after the tribe's banishment, and pledged allegiance to Calamity Ganon. But there were some questions as to how they maintained contact with him. Urbosa mentioned how the group was planning to revive Ganon, which implies some sort of communication between the two. And while we don't know for certain, there's a good chance that the chamber from the sequel's trailer is directly beneath Hyrule Castle. With the introduction of this new character, it's possible this individual acted as a mediator, relaying information between Ganon and the Yiga. We see the cloaked figure in another shot with Master Koga and who may be his right-hand man. More importantly, it's possible that this is the real mastermind behind Ganon's return, showing how the Yiga were simply used. Someone in my Discord described it perfectly. Master Koga is simply a figure piece. He may be the leader of the Yiga Clan, but remember that this group is a third party. They don't necessarily serve directly under Ganondorf, but they might take orders from this cloaked person. And this is honestly a smart tactic. While the Gerudo and royal family were distracted with the Yiga, the real puppeteer is operating from the shadows. And not knowing who your enemies are can be a real dangerous thing. In regards to the orb itself, there are a couple of possibilities. Monster Maze suggested that since it's infused with malice, perhaps it's how Ganondorf communicates with the cloaked figure. In fact, you can see the orb in the shot with Koga and the Double Blade Master, where the mysterious individual is turned away from the two. And assuming this is a giant ancient core, perhaps this is the first case of corrupting Sheikah technology with malice. We might even see it happen in the game, as either a demonstration of Ganon's plan to Koga, or simply foreshadowing future events to the player. With all that said, who exactly could this individual be? Well, in typical Nintendo fashion, the way this trailer is presented gives us multiple possibilities. I don't think this is going to be a brand new character, and by brand new I'm talking about a person who isn't even referenced in Breath of the Wild. As of now, I'll cover what I believe to be the 4 most prominent theories, and some of these could actually intertwine a bit. One of the most popular Breath of the Wild theories is that the prophecy was a ploy to get the royal family to dig up the Sheikah technology, with the intent of later using Ganon's malice to control it. The fortune teller was trusted by the king, but was really a spy working with Ganondorf. But since the technology was buried thousands of years ago, there was no way to access it without raising suspicion. That's where the prophecy comes in. The signs of a resurrection of Calamity Ganon are clear, and the power to oppose it lies dormant beneath the ground. With the royal family excavating the guardians and divine beasts, Calamity Ganon's plan would come to fruition, leading Hyrule down a path of destruction. I've talked about this theory, many others have talked about it, though as far as I can tell, the first person to discuss it was LoruleanHistorian. I just want to point that out because I don't want to take credit for his theory. Now, the main issue with this theory is that we know little to no information on the fortune teller in Breath of the Wild. They're only mentioned in the journal entries of Zelda and Rome, and while creating a champion suggests this person to be the queen, both the king and princess say the fortune teller. The way it's worded doesn't give this individual a sense of familiarity to them. But what if the cloaked figure from this trailer is that fortune teller? Someone close to the royal family, acting as Calamity Ganon's eyes and ears from the inside. And if Ganondorf's body is deep below Hyrule Castle, this person might know where it is and have access to the chamber. As someone close to the royal family, they'd know all about their history, including things that not even the king knows about. In a way, the cloaked figure could play a Chancellor Palpatine role in Age of Calamity, a game of 4D chess, where both sides are manipulated for the sake of a bigger end goal. Going further with this idea will lead into speculation, so for now let's just wait and see what happens. But the fortune teller is definitely the one I believe to be the most likely. One of the earliest topics discussed on NintendoBlackCrisis was the mystery of the 7 heroines, including the mysterious 8th located around the Gerudo Highlands. While records of the 7 exist, described as divine protectors, you only hear of the 8th's existence through Bozai, stating how it was wiped clean from history. It's possible there was a falling out between the group due to the 8th's betrayal. If we look at the statue's placement, along with the sword up in the mountains, both appear to be in an unfinished state. The sword is attached to the rock, suggesting it was carved from the mountain and planned to later be moved down to the statue. For some unexplained reason, the production of this was put to a halt. And the archaeological site of the Gerudo, which was taken over by the Yiga, has a total of 8 statues. The place where the 7 heroines are located, the East Gerudo Ruins, has just enough space for an 8th statue to be placed. This all implies that another heroine did exist, and for some reason was wiped from history. What's interesting about this is the description of the quest log for the 8th heroine. There's a legend about 7 heroines in the Gerudo region, but it turns out that an 8th heroine existed, and she is worshipped to this day by her faithful in the Gerudo Highlands. There's only one group located within the Highlands, that being the Yiga, as their main hideout is found in this region. Assuming there was a betrayal, combined with being worshipped by the Yiga Clan, suggests that this figure was a malevolent being. One who turned their back on the other sages, being wiped from the records, no longer a divine protector of the Gerudo. And in the trailer, 2 Yiga foot soldiers are bowing before the cloaked figure. We've already established the connection to the Gerudo through the emblem on the back of the cloak, and the necklace, which is also seen on Urbosa and Riju. No other Gerudo wears it, suggesting that it's donned only by leaders of the tribe. In that case, this mysterious person in the trailer must have been some figure of authority. And if the heroines were sages consisting of only Gerudo, perhaps this person is connected in some way to the 8th heroine, who was cast aside by the others. There's also another possibility, that this mysterious villain is similar to Agahnim from A Link to the Past. He approached the King of Hyrule and put an end to the kingdom's misfortunes, earning him the position of chief advisor to the king, priest, and heir to the 7 sages. Agahnim took advantage of this role and used his magic to dispose of the king, brainwash the soldiers, and trap the 6 maidens within the Dark World. Later in the game, it's revealed that he is the alter ego of Ganon, rather than a pawn. Agahnim is described as a dark wizard, and his official artwork gives us a closer look. What appears to be a stylized version of the Sheikah eye is present on the front of his robe. The whole premise of having close connections to royalty, only to later betray them, is eerily similar to the fortune teller theory. In fact, many Zelda games have had cases such as this, like Chancellor Cole from Spirit Tracks and Yuga in Lorule. The figure's face in the trailer looks especially similar to the latter. Is the cloaked figure simply an alter ego of Ganon? One who has close connections to the royal family and will ultimately betray them, leading to the events of the Great Calamity? Perhaps. To recap, we've gone over the possibilities of this figure being the fortune teller, the 8th heroine, and an alter ego of Ganon. But there's a fourth one which is definitely worth discussing. Assuming this individual is Gerudo, one character in particular sticks out: Twinrova. The name that both Kome and Kotake take when combined. Their loyalty to Ganondorf goes beyond your average minion, as they were the surrogate mothers of the Gerudo King. While the lifespan of the race is unknown, the witches are extremely old, around 380 to 400 years in Ocarina of Time, presumably due to their magic. Unlike other Gerudo, Twinrova has gray hair instead of the typical shade of red, and her eyes are yellow. It sounds familiar, and that's because the cloaked figure also shares these attributes. Most think of Ocarina of Time when it comes to the twin witches, however they also make an appearance in the linked game of the Oracle series. This is where more information is presented to us, and where the sudden death of Zelda's mother may come into play. The first thing Oracle of Ages and Seasons tells us is that just because Twinrova dies in Ocarina of Time, doesn't mean she can't appear in Breath of the Wild. This is because both witches appear in the Oracle series, despite it taking place after Ocarina of Time. If that is true, then it's certainly possible for her to reappear, despite being previously defeated. Now, let's look at their motives from Ages and Seasons. Koume and Kotake sent Varen and General Onyx to wreak havoc on the kingdoms of Labrina and Holodrum, which in return lights 2 of the 3 flames to resurrect Ganon. To light the final flame, Twinrova kidnaps Princess Zelda in order to sacrifice her and complete the ritual. Direct translations provided by Nonoctoro, LoruleanHistorian and Sidier delve further into the sacrifice. The resurrection of Great Demon King Ganon, Princess Zelda, the Holy Sacrifice, in which Ganon's spirit would be summoned into the Divine Vessel. The ceremony itself was incomplete thanks to the interruption of Link, causing Twinrova to sacrifice herself and give birth to a mindless Ganon. The ritual was described as a dark ceremony handed down by us Gerudo. The important thing to take away here is that the sacrifice of Zelda was needed to revive Ganon. In Breath of the Wild's case, we have the sudden passing of Zelda's mother. A theory I've talked about and still believe is that her death was not by natural causes. Chances are that the Yiga were involved. Story-wise, it makes sense as Zelda had struggled to unlock her sealing power with the loss of her mentor, her mother. With that said, is it possible that the Queen's death was a requirement for the return of Ganon? Urbosa states that there were plans to resurrect Calamity Ganon, and I have a feeling that we'll see more of those plans in Age of Calamity. What exactly occurred, and was Twinrova a part of the scheme? Lastly, in Ages and Seasons, the player confronts a cloaked figure. And guess what? This individual turns out to be Twinrova. Will a similar situation transpire within Breath of the Wild's prequel? It's possible. If you're interested in hearing more about the connections Twinrova has with this mystery villain, I highly recommend checking out Rinkuto's thread on Twitter, as some of the information came from that. Along with his final episode to the Truth of the Wild series where he covers Twinrova's connections to the 8th heroine. The best part about these theories I've mentioned is how we might see a case where several of them are true. The cloaked figure could be the royal family's fortune teller, who happens to be connected to the 8th heroine, and is in reality Twinrova in disguise. But the opposite is also true. It's possible this person is a brand new character with no connections to ones referenced in Breath of the Wild or seen in past Zelda games. It'll be interesting to see if we guessed right or were completely off the mark. Either way, I can't wait to get my hands on this game. And now it's time for heavy speculation. I didn't know where else to put this, so I'll make it brief. There's a shot in the sequel's trailer where a hand is lunging towards Ganondorf, perhaps right before his sealing. Depending on how you look at it, the bit below the arm might be a cloak. Does this arm belong to the figure within Age of Calamity's trailer? It would be interesting if they disappeared near the end of the game and returned in Breath of the Wild 2. I'm also kind of curious about this shot in the first trailer for the prequel. Link is seen in his champion's tunic repelling what resembles a thunder spear. It also looks like it's raining, which makes me think that this occurs when he is running away from Hyrule Castle. What if this cloaked figure is pursuing the two in an attempt to kill them? The Gerudo are closely tied to electricity, so perhaps there will be a final confrontation with this person which results in them being defeated or escaping. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm not sure if I'll still get a huge analysis up. I might wait a bit just in case another trailer is uploaded. Then I can do a video covering all three at once. Let me know what you guys think, as well as any other ideas you have for videos. This month is going to be a lot more experimental when it comes to content, but I promise that Zelda videos will not be going away. They'll still be the main focus of this channel. I've been NintendoBlackCrisis, and I will see you all next time.